Today, we're taking this thing apart. We're ripping off everything that's broken, or at least most of it, and we're just gonna get it stripped down to like a repairable shell. So everything that's damaged is coming off. We're gonna make a list of everything that needs to be changed, anything that needs to be fixed, you know, minor imperfections, little dent on the fender, stuff like that. So that way we have a start to finish list of everything that needs to be done to get the car mechanically sound, electronically sound, because I have a new starter and a fuse box over there on the bench. Gotta change those, just like some standard maintenance and warranty stuff. I think I explained in the last video about how like we don't have an Audi dealer, so normally you'd have to get stuff done through Volkswagen, but if it's a recall, then you can't get it done at Volkswagen. It actually has to go directly to Audi, which basically means that, forgot to put the light back in. If I open the door, it rips the light out of the socket, so I gotta take it off every time I put cars in here. Anyway, now you can see a little bit better. It basically means that any kind of like recall stuff, because these have a fuse box recall on them for the fuse box melting, and there's no actual like fix for it. So there's no updated part number or anything like that. It's just like the replacement fuse box. But that basically means that there would be the fuel charge of driving all the way down to the nearest dealer, which is about 750 kilometers away. So that's like 470 almost miles, plus like a hotel or something, because they would have to get booked in and then have all the work done and everything. Probably end up staying there for like the entire day, plus with how long the drive back would be. Might as well stay the night, leave in the morning. Plus all the fuel coming back, it's looking at like somewhere around 500 bucks. Just to go there and back to have a free fuse box changed. So it's literally cheaper just to buy a brand new fuse box and install it myself. So I don't know, just like small town stuff that like most people don't normally cover, because most YouTubers live in like a giant city where every bit of success is extremely easy to achieve. Where this city, we don't even have 100,000 people. And like I said, it's about 750 kilometers to the nearest major city, which means that we are literally in the middle of nowhere. So getting anything takes forever. Like Amazon Prime, just for reference, you know, like 2-day shipping, Amazon Prime. Basically here, that just means you'll get it in a week instead of 2 weeks. So we don't even have fast shipping for anything, and Amazon Prime is like the quickest shipping that you can get, at least around here, and it still takes about a week. So all you people with your like Amazon Now 2-hour shipping, I don't even want to hear it. We're dealing with a whole other scenario of ancient shipping times and everything here. So the start of this project is basically going to be in the instance where if you were to buy a salvage repairable car. And now these aren't actual prices. These are just like market prices for what normal stuff would be going for. And this car on the low end right now, according to the Canadian government, is worth about $1,600 Canadian. And on the high end, they're worth about $8,200. So that's like completely fixed, no rust at all, around 200,000 kilometers. So this entire project that we're doing right now is to simulate if we were to be buying this car as a salvage repairable for the Canadian market value on the low end of $1,600 Canadian. That's our base price. This journey of repairing this car, like the entire series that we're doing on this, is going to be to see if buying a salvage repairable and then fixing everything yourself is going to be worthwhile, or if it's better just to buy one for 8,200 bucks and call it a day. So the first thing we gotta do is start ripping all of the broken stuff off. So to take the bumper off, we're going to need a 3/8 drive 10mm socket, 3/8 drive Torx 30, 3/8 drive Torx 25, a 3/8 3-inch extension, a 3/8 6-inch extension, and a 3/8 ratchet. This T30 is going to be for these 3 bolts at the top. There's 1, 2, and 3, so we'll leave that there for now. Use the 3-inch extension with the T25. Make sure that's on the other Titan. There we are. And we're just going to be taking these bolts out here. 3 up here. And 4 right beside it on this upper wheel liner piece. And 5 right here at the back. There we go. That's pretty much coming out. Normally you would have the bottom ones that attach to the belly pan or the skid plate, and then there's some other ones attached to the bumper, but obviously there's nothing there. We don't really have to worry about that. So this can just kind of hang out and do its own thing for now. Now we can attach that 6-inch extension to the 3-inch extension and the 10mm. Now there's a 10mm bolt in here that goes through into the bumper. We have to go all the way down to there. We can just move this out of the way and then just try and get in here using the force, because you can't really see anything. Hopefully this is working. Okay, so that's out, and the nut is gone. Now this side should be ready to come out. You gotta pry it out and then forward. Good, good. You gotta love when everything is frozen. Well, it was already broken, so, I mean, no harm, no foul, right? Now that bolt is out, so we can do the same on this side. Just pry it out and forward. And again, that piece right there just broke right off. Like, it's not even connected, and it's just broken. More pieces here. Awesome. The T30s on top. Now, this specific application, I'm gonna have to remove this little license plate thing. So now, after cracking that thing loose, let's try and get this out. Oh my god, this is so dicked. And this is reverse threaded, so you gotta tighten it to loosen it. Obviously, I can't get in there to save my life here. That's not inconvenient at all. Oh my god. So it looks like we just get to sit here with a wrench like an asshole. That's done. Now, last thing here is there is a remaining fog light. So let's just pop that out real quick. Come on, reveal your secrets. Okay, looks like the whole bulb is coming out. Alright, whatever. Let me just rip this off. Alright, that's done. Now I can just finish taking that fender liner out right here. And then I just got to kind of overlook to see what replacement parts I'm going to need. Obviously, 2 new horns. The entire bottom of the rad support is actually gone. So that's cool. So I'm going to need an entire new front rad support. Like the entire front support has to get changed. Oh my god, I'm going to kill myself. I don't see anything that looks really cracked. I was really concerned about the fitting on the intercooler. I think it might be fine. I'm not like 100% sure. So it looks like the support in the front here actually took most of the damage. Because the intercooler is right here, and then the rad is behind it, and this is the AC condenser. I mean, it kind of looks like the intercooler is fine. It's kind of hard to tell just because like everything is covered in salt. But now I just gotta like detach bulbs, sensors, fender liners, all the boring stuff. So I'll just keep ripping all the small stuff out or whatever. And then I'll come back once I start diving into the rear suspension and everything. Should probably charge this camera anyway. It's freaking freezing in here and this thing only lasts for like 45 minutes before the battery dies because it's so goddamn cold. I don't even know how long it's been since I last looked at this because I'm going to be ripping apart this entire section here. Because I pretty much have to take everything out so I can press the bushing in on the vise. If I had a press, like a ball joint press or something, I could have used that to push the bushing back in. I mean, in theory, like it did get ripped completely out. Like it's gonna take a long time to get this done regardless because I'm waiting for parts, so I mean I might as well wait for tools at the same time. It's gonna make it easier for less time that I'm spending working on it, but it's still gonna take like the same overall duration of time before the car's done. I'll just have less work that I actually have to do. So I guess in the sense of speeding things up, I gotta take this control arm off so I can like fix that whole subframe area. And I mean, like, hopefully I can actually fix it, because if I can't, then I have to change the whole subframe, and like I might as well off myself at that point because that's a huge job. So let's just kind of get this in here, just gonna pry this down. Oh my god, oh Christ, this is gonna suck trying to get this out. This is gonna be such a nightmare trying to fix this. You have to get torches and stuff in here. Oh my god, I am not excited. At least the exhaust that I like just fixed didn't bend, so that's good. Like I just fixed this and put it on, so at least it's not bent and I have to take the whole thing off. I can just, you know, leave the performance dents. We'll call it aero mods. But I just gotta get this stupid thing to hold back over. Come on. Oh my god. Actually, it might be easy to take this off right now because I could get an impact right on this. I'm going to try that before I go any further with this. I don't have an Impact 18, so we're just going to send it. Hopefully that works. The compressor's doing its thing, because it hasn't been on in forever. Hopefully this is going to work. Maybe. Well, that's not moving at all. That's promising. What number are we on? We're on the most number. Well, that's not very reassuring. Oh my god, this is gonna suck. It seems like you can break this free. Oh, of course. That's not inconvenient at all. Okay, it turned a little bit. I really need to get a hoist. The jack stands are maxed out. And I got like 1.5 feet of room. Okay, I'm just gonna let the compressor fill up, then I'm just gonna go for broke until something breaks. So while I'm here taking stuff apart, this is a ball joint press, but I'm pretty much just going to be using this as like a clamp. So I have the bushing here. This is the one that I took out. I figured it was probably like scored and couldn't go back in, but it's actually fine. It's not cracked or anything. So I'm going to be using a 27mm socket because that fits right around here, like right on the outside, not on the bushing itself. And that means that I'll be able to press this back into the knuckle. Spray this down. Spray the bushing. Let's get that started. Okay, so just make sure that's nice and straight. So now this is going to go on here. So it's only pressing on the outer piece, not on the bushing itself. Now this is going to be kind of a balancing act. Trying to get all of this in here. Make sure that butts up nice and tight. Now I'm just going to use a 22 on this side. And just start tightening, bushing in place. Loosen this off. So that bushing is back in and we are good to go there. Once I finish the subframe, then all that's left is putting in the new lower control arm. Okay, so I got the bolt. Fuck. It's still really hot. I had to sit there with the map torch, vice grips on the bushing because that came clean out of the control arm. Bushing was seized on the bolt. I heated it up with the map torch. So I had the impact going, the bushing was seized, and I was hitting with the hammer as I had the impact going, and then the vice grips were on the bushing, holding it in place. And that was enough to finally knock it loose after about 2 hours. So that completely sucked. I have this bolt right here. I'm going to reuse this. This is not a torque to yield bolt, so I can reuse it. The nut, very rusty, but the nylon inside for the locking ring is still good, so I can reuse that. I just got to clean it up. And then right here is the cam washer, a little bit bent, so I'm just going to hammer that back into shape. You can see the hexagonal cutout right here, and then there's a little hexagon on the inside of the nut head. And that is what moves the cam to determine the alignment, because the hole on the subframe is actually oval. So as you position this bolt, it'll turn the cam and pull the bolt forward or backward for the camber adjustment on the back. And then you tighten the nut once you have that position. There's going to be some witchcraft that I have to do in here to get this perfect. Changing the entire subframe is absolutely going to suck. So I'm going to have to remake that bottom portion and have it within spec that this cam washer is still going to do its job and the car is still going to have a proper alignment. Now, I've made a video before about how to like fix nuts and bolts or whatever, like if they're all corroded like this. So you can see all the corrosion right in here, and that was from the bushing where it was seized. I made that video before I had a tap and die set, so this is going to be a lot easier now that I have one. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out, because you can just use a chisel, a hammer, some picks, and you can just break all of this stuff out, and then you can use anti-seize as kind of an abrasive to run the nut on and off. Now this nut specifically has a nylon locking ring in it, so I wouldn't recommend using that because you're just going to wear out the nylon, then it's not going to be a locking nut anymore, and that will cause problems in the future. So get a sacrificial nut to use for that to clean up the threads if you're doing this, or if, you know, you just want to replace the nut and bolt, then give her. I'm just trying to make like educational things for YouTube, so that's why I'm doing this, and I want to save the owner of the car a little bit of money. So I'm going to be reusing as many parts as I can and only replacing the things that are absolutely necessary. First order is getting this in the vise and letting it cool down a little bit. And then I can use an M12 by 1.5 die and run it all the way down the threads and then back off. And then again, I will use a tap on the nut here just to clean it up, at least just in the first portion of the threads in here, not really going toward the nylon, so that way it still stays rigid. I'm just going to hammer this back into shape and everything should be good. Maybe clean up the ends of the file or something just to make it a little bit easier for reinstalling. That's in there. It's cooled down a bit. It's still really warm. Try and get off as much of the bigger stuff as I can to try and save the die a little bit. Now, as I'm cleaning this up, actually I should probably take my own advice on this. You should wear a respirator when doing this because this white stuff here is aluminum oxide, and that will cause shit, what the hell's it called? Alzheimer's. Fuck. So now with a respirator on, I just finished cleaning up the rest of this. Make sure that most of it comes off. You can see all the dust flying around. That's all aluminum oxide. So that's good enough. Okay, so this is an M12 by 1.5 die. Got some cutting fluid. Put a bunch on here. Good. It'll work down as it's being used. Now I guess at this point I don't really need the respirator anymore. So now I can just start running this down, fixing these threads. Oh, that is crunchy. Go, run that back up. Okay, take that off. You can see all the junk in here. All on here too, so we can just clean this up again. Now, this seems relatively stupid to be doing something like this. This is no longer my car, and wherever I can save money, I want to save money, because 10 bucks here, 10 bucks there, and, we've probably saved a couple $100 just by doing stupid stuff like this. It only takes a little bit of time, and eventually, we've saved a few $100s, and considering this entire project right now is all about trying to see if buying a salvage car is worthwhile, saving as much money as possible is going to be beneficial. I'm just going to keep at this. I'm going to run a tap just a little bit through the nut here. So you can see that right here I'm using a plug tap because that's the only taps that I have. A taper tap would be significantly further in for how many threads aren't fully developed. And then a bottoming tap would be for like threading holes and stuff that go into a surface that doesn't have an opening at the end. So that way the taps would be fully developed all the way across. So you would start with a tapering tap and then end with a bottoming tap. This is kind of like the middle ground, sort of does most of everything. One thing you have to take into account with these is if you were making a tapered hole, so like pipe fittings and stuff where the threads are not fully developed at the end, you would really want to use a tapering tap on this. You could with this, you just only have to go like a little bit into it. You never go all the way through, otherwise you'll have perfect threads all the way through the hole and then you don't have a sealing surface. So if you're doing like air fitting lines or something. And that's kind of what I want to do here. So I want to take the tap and I want to go through just until the end of the tap is reaching the nylon at the end. So that way the fully developed threads aren't cutting that. And I'm just going to go through a few times until the end reaches the opening at the end of the nut. And then I'm just going to bring it back, clean it out. I'm going to do that a few more times. So I'll save you guys a headache of watching me struggle with all these bolts because this is stupid and you should just change your bolts anyway. I'm going to keep doing this, waste my own life, and I'll save you guys the headache. Well, that didn't take too long. Maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes. I cleaned the nut up just with a file, a little bit more respectable or something like that. And then right here you can see that the tap I only went for the first few threads and then I stopped at the nylon to just preserve what was left of it. Then on the end of the bolt here, just filed all that down, made sure that the inner hexagon was nice and straight, and then I did the same in here on the cam washer, so that way when it's put together it locks in perfect. And this nut just goes on perfectly, no resistance, and then right there at the nylon it starts to grip on. That's done. Didn't even take a half hour. Now I can reuse that when I get the new control arm. So now all that's left is I have to look at the subframe on the front to see what's going on with the bolts that holds the skid plate on. There's holes right here, and the bolts themselves completely sheared off, and I was able to just take vice grips and grab onto them and twist out the remaining piece of stud from the bolt that was stuck in there. The oil leak was from the ECS drain plug. It was actually cracked, so now that there's a new one in there, there's no more leak. So the oil leak is fine. And I think that's pretty much it for like this disassembly video, because every mounting point for the skid plate is going to be fine. I can bolt that back up. The oil leak was just the drain plug, and we replaced that. That's good. The exhaust is currently removed because I needed to take that off for the rear subframe. And the exhaust is here. You can see all on the top where it's dented in because it actually hit the body. And the bottom of the muffler is also dented, but the body is not dented, and that's just a factory muffler. So I'm not going to do anything with that. That's just going to bolt right back on. It'll be fine. The bushing in the knuckle, I pressed that back in. That's good. Didn't need to buy a new one of those. Control arm is removed. The cam bolt for the control arm is refreshed, so I can throw that back in. And while I have everything out, I'm going to do the outer control arm bolt, that one over there, just to the right of the control arm, or what's left of the control arm. So I'll clean that up, so that's ready to go back in. And then under the car itself, going to be kind of hard to see, but this part right here, that's where the cam bolt goes in, and it has these two little like raised sections, and that's what the cam washer pushes off of, and that determines the orientation of the lower control arm to adjust the camber. So right here, you can see that these two pieces are still perfectly intact. So there's nothing I need to do there. This oval hole is still here. Everything on this side is perfect. I have no issues here. I just have to like bend this back so it's like in the correct position. Because like this right here comes to about here. So like I need to push this significantly further back. But then in here is the problem area. These pieces of metal right here. I pretty much have to like cut all of this, weld it all back in. Like I'm gonna have to clean all this up and grind it all down and everything. Tack it all back in place so that way it's all one piece.
And then I'm going to have to grind all that down so it's completely smooth, fill in any other areas, and I'm pretty much just going to have to like remanufacture this area by welding all the pieces back together. And then I just have to take measurements off of something, so I'll probably just use the sway bar because that all seems good and uniform. So I'll take measurements going across and then down so that way I can determine the exact position that this needs to be in and then the exact spacing between them. And with all of that being done, then I should be able to just put a control arm right back in. It'll bolt back in place. And then with that control arm in place, I need to get an adapter and a new headlight leveling sensor because like this thing is completely seized. So once that's fixed, then the automatic adjusting headlights are going to be working. But in the next video, I'm going to actually start tackling some of these repairs because all these YouTubers out there, they're all buying Audi R8s. And you know, even at salvage price ranges and stuff, we all can't afford a salvage R8. I'm trying to do like something similar to it. So this is the salvage A3. There's the entire new like RS3 front bumper. I have the RS3 side skirts, which are at my friend's house, so I have to pick those up. There's going to be a new control arm for the rear. I'm going to need hardware for the skid plate. There was a new drain plug for the oil pan. There's a new fuse box because those are just a known issue. There's a new starter that has to go in, and then there's the new horns that I have over there because both horns are broken. And then obviously I have the two brand new rear doors from Audi Canada, and then I have the used front door that I got from a scrapyard in the States. And then there's also a full window tint kit to go around the entire car. I think that's everything so far. So as the series progresses, I'm going to have a tally of all of the parts that were going into it and what the repair cost is actually going to be if you're to be doing all of this yourself. And the whole objective here is I have to fix this car anyway, so I figured it was a good opportunity to make a series on helping people get a cheaper car. Because, you know, not everyone can afford an Audi A3. Even though these sell for about $8,000, it's still out of price range for a lot of people. So I'm buying a salvage one, plus all of the parts to repair it, if you're willing to do it yourself, might actually be a viable solution to get a better car than you would normally be able to afford. So hopefully that's the case, and then we can take the extra budget to start throwing extra stuff at this car, and then hopefully we can turn this into something that's worth more than the like just over $8,000 price range that these things go for right now. So there's going to be way more of this to come. Hopefully you found something useful here. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, or don't do any of it. I'm not telling you what to do.